the question that I just continually have going around in my head is, why do I feel like I'm being mugged? I feel every day that I've been mugged. Literally, someone has come up to me, threatened me, and stolen my wallet. That's how I feel every single day of my life. Because immigration, illegal and legal, is just a perennial issue in Britain, and the Conservative Party, with a massive 380-seat majority, just will not do anything about it. They won't touch it for some reason. And so the country is in decline. Everyone can see it's in decline. Everyone can see everything's falling apart. All the services are massively overloaded. All the roads are massively overloaded. All the trains are... Just don't even get me started.
Yep.
Like everything. The house prices, rent, everything is being ground down by the sheer number of people who are using it. And the Conservatives are doing very, very little. But before we begin, if you want to support us, go and watch Thomas Dowling's return for a premium podcast with Stelios, debating modernity. How is modernity working out? Not great, I would argue, and I think that's Thomas's argument as well. And Stelios, I suppose, feels like he has to defend something about modernity. But I haven't actually had time to watch it yet, but I could hear them arguing when they were recording it. So I bet it was good. Anyway, let's begin by taking a look at the average boatload of migrants. This is the UK Border Force picking up some refugees. See a single woman or child there?
Not even that. They look delighted to be broadcasting this on social media.
Yeah, of course they are.
This is an adventure for them.
Yes, it is, as Callum has spoken about previously. But this, when I say this is literally average migrant boat, I'm not joking. According to the government's own statistics, 9 out of 10 of them were male in the whole thing. So, okay, 9 out of 10, 90% male. So where are we putting them? Well, we're putting them in hotels, but we'll get to that in a minute. There's a big protest in Bexhill recently because, of course, Bexhill, just a small town on the coast in the south, and they were going to put 1,200 asylum seekers into a former prison. And so the people of Bexhill were like, not on my watch. But what was really annoying is the Conservative MP is a Mr. Merriman. And he did not oppose the plans to have this put in his own constituency.
Line go up.
Yeah. So the Conservative MP they voted for has been like, yeah, no, I'm okay with it. Our policy is to move asylum seekers away from hotels. They're costly and not safe in terms of people being targeted by modern slavery gangs.
Then why incentivize them to keep coming here?
That's the concern.
Yeah.
I hate it, right? I would rather see people being housed in more humane situations where there is something to do, does not blight hotels and the areas around them. Well, you could just deport these illegal immigrants. That would be the first thing I would have done.
They have no entitlement to be here.
No. They literally have no case to be here, right? And they broke into the country, right? So anyway, moving on. The Conservatives, as you already know, back in March, are housing migrants, tens of thousands of them, in 400 hotels across the country, which means that out of the 48 English counties, 42 of them are housing foreign interlopers. And this is something that is costing us huge amounts of money, and so we were trying to save money, and so we were putting the migrants 4 in a room. Just 4 men in a room in a hotel. And so the migrants started protesting that. They started, if you get to the next one, John, there was a protest last week outside of the Pimlico Comfort Inn where 20 asylum seekers essentially camped on the street protesting. It ended the night before this article with rumours that the hotel gave in because the hotel just capitulated and gave them extra rooms. Because why not? Why wouldn't you? The government's going to pay for it. On the arrival to the hotel, they were told that 4 people would be sharing a room with 2 bunk beds, leading many to worry about their safety and lack of space. What safety concerns would there be?
Top and tail might be a bit too close.
You're all... Yeah, but what's unsafe about having to live with your fellow migrants, fellow refugees? You're all just fleeing war, aren't you, and persecution? So we are told. But the government has got a solution to this. They're going to just tell them to share the rooms. Just be like, could you just do it, please? And they're going to be like, oh, yes, sir, mister.
It's not unreasonable. Oh, right, okay. We wouldn't want to offend the sensibilities of the seafaring insurgents that we are paying millions every day to put up.
No, Robert Jenrick is right. It's not unreasonable, but these aren't reasonable people. They literally broke into our country and are demanding our money.
I think the reasonable thing is to sink the boat.
I think that the reasonable thing would just be to turn them back to France. Which is something we're not doing for some reason. But yeah, so this is directly a decision. Decided what? We're going to ask them not to do it. Okay, they're not going to listen. Like, they don't respect you. They don't take orders from you. They're here to get our money. And so anyway, on the 9th of May, the Conservatives are like, well, maybe if we just stick them on barges, that'll be the solution. And we've covered this before, so I won't linger on it. But each vessel will house 500 single male asylum seekers, which describes almost all of them, in various places like Portland and Dorset.
So we're just going to have pirate marauders
yeah, basically
sailing off the coast of England.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why we're treating these adult men like they're children. Like, they're being treated as if they're incapable children. It's like, well, they have wayfared their way from wherever they've come from, managed to Viking their way across the sea, and now they're looting our tax money. So I don't think they are children, actually. But the Conservatives are like, right, so that's one plan, but that hasn't solved the problem. Maybe we just extend that plan, which is something they announced earlier this week. Because the next one, John, is going to be like, yeah, so why don't we just get more of these? Why don't we increase the size of the pirate fleet?
Look, just, if you know you don't have to let them in, you know that. So all I can assume is that you want them here and that you are pretending to try to deal with the problem to try to quell public outrage about the fact that we are being bled dry in our tax money and having our cultural fabric deteriorated, while also benefiting from the fact that loads more people are coming here, whether it's your spreadsheet or whether it's because you're getting a kickback in some way from the contracts doled out to the hotel providers.
There are 112,000 people, apparently, occupying these barges and hotels. Just saying. But the question, so you remember they were like, well, it's not safe for us to live with our fellow migrants. So the Conservatives got another plan. Right? They're going to make them sign a code of conduct. Or else.
Right.
Migrants housed on barges face code of conduct and will be kicked out if they break rules. They won't be kicked out of the country.
No, they'll just be left to roam.
Exactly. They'll be kicked out of the barge.
Yeah.
It's like, well, where are they going to go? Right? This is wild, right? The code is designed to prevent antisocial behavior. Really, all these young men from foreign parts are exhibiting antisocial behavior. Who could have predicted that? Lisa Nandy. And will not apply only on board, but when migrants leave and travel to town for visits. A senior Home Office official has said. The official was speaking to residents via a Zoom meeting, public meeting, said the asylum seekers would be free to come and go, just as they are allowed to do in asylum hotels, but would be escorted in and out of the secure port at Portland like holidaymakers disembarking from a cruise ship.
They're on a jolly.
Put a pin in that. Right, this is literally this is a holiday residence at this point, right? Failure to abide by the code could lead to the removal from the barge or withdrawal of support comprising food, housing, and cash of £9 a week. That's the penalty. Don't abide by the code. £9, 10 pence a week.
We're going to take your pocket money away.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get married and have a house, man.
The incentives.
They're
so strong.
I just wanted a quiet life, and you just won't let me because you want to create human battery farms. I hate this place.
The government stressed that such action would not be ruled out. Really? It's not even going to be the first thing they do. I mean, I would have had lashings in the public square, but they're like, well, we might take away your pocket money.
I would have deported them by a trebuchet.
Yeah, exactly. They're not children. Like, what thing? So, like I said, right, they're going to be treated like holidaymakers embarking from a cruise ship. So why don't we just put them on cruise ships?
Have you seen what the barge is called?
No, what was it?
The Bibby Stockholm.
Oh, yes.
Stockholm Syndrome. Are you having a laugh?
No, what's having a laugh is we're actually going to put them on the cruise ships.
Oh, okay.
Because, I mean, they've come all this way. We're acting like we're paying for their holiday in Britain. If you just go to the next one, why don't we just put them on the cruise ship? Like, why not? We have actual cruise ships that the government could pay for a bunch of foreign interlopers to live on for as long as they want at the expense of the British taxpayer. Why don't we put them on the cruise ships, says Rishi Sunak? And that's a great question. You have literally humiliated us all this way. Why not just go that extra step further?
Yeah, all of the onboard entertainment will generate so much GDP growth.
Well, I mean, then why not just sail them around to the south of France and have them have a Mediterranean weather, a nice holiday at our expense? I think I might go mad, right? But anyway, Rishi Sunak has revealed that we're going to pay for 1,000 migrants between them 500 migrants each on one of these cruise ships. Now, it costs you thousands of pounds to go on a cruise ship, and the government ain't going to pay for it. But if you just cross the border on a small boat, then
Honestly, for the price of a flight to France and a rubber duck to float over on, you will have bed and board and holidays for the rest of your life.
and that's the thing. All of this is indefinite. Right? There's no time limit in any of
There are
it.
so many perverse incentives here.
It's just like, what are you doing? I can't help but laugh because this is just absolute clown world, right? The vessels will be thought to be heading to Merseyside and Teaport.
Right.
I say, okay, great. I mean, at least it's somewhere not near me, but then
Hold
we're not on the
on.
coast.
Aren't they just where Rishi Sunak has created these new freeport zones as well for low capital investment?
Possibly. I didn't think about checking that.
That's a strange choice. There's definitely something going on there. Because if you've attracted loads more investment and regulation exemption, and then you're sticking a boat full of human capital in the area, there's something going on there that pricks my ears up.
Quite possibly. I didn't think to cross-reference it. But cruise ships, just actually, they're being given a cruise. I bet these cruise ships have swimming pools on them. Heated swimming pools. And they've got luxurious beds. My wife's like, can we go on a cruise? I'm like, no, we're not illegal immigrants, darling. We can't afford a bloody cruise. What, in this economy, we've got to pay for their cruise. You've got to understand, sweetheart.
Just a bunch of Somalians clapping for the Mickey Mouse nighttime dinner show.
Yeah, oh my God. But anyway, thank God someone is standing up to this. It's Sadiq Khan.
What?
They're not going on barges and cruise ships on my watch.
Oh, is it because he found out the proportion of Indians that are now coming over?
No, it's because he views it as being beneath their dignity. I'm not even joking. Sadiq Khan says, I oppose these plans on the strongest possible terms. I am proud of London's history of providing sanctuary for those who seek refuge. I'm concerned that vulnerable people fleeing appalling circumstances. I tell you what, Sadiq, we'll go back to the first video. You point out to me the vulnerable person who's fleeing appalling circumstances. Because all of them look like very rough-looking adult men. But anyway, they would not have serious access to the support they need. They're going to be on a cruise ship, Sadiq. Don't know what you're talking about. With their safety, health, and well-being put at serious risk, as if these are just a bunch of children, right? Is it because London's not safe? No, he wants them in London, not on the barges. Oh, right, okay. Right, okay. Yeah. But yeah, so he's going to block the barges. Not going to be in London, in someone else, not in his backyard. But then Sadiq has been quite open about the fact that he just literally wants more immigrants. If you can go to the next one, John. Literally, there's just no limit. Now, at this point, we know that 40% at least of London is first-generation immigrant.
I live there. You can tell.
And the census data shows it. And so Sadiq Khan's like, yeah, so London needs more immigrants. It's like, does it? Like,
I'm never going to be able to own my own place.
No.
Anywhere near. No. I don't even want to live on a tube line in Central. It's horrible. But even the sort of greater London boroughs, which are still kind of quaint and nice and have bird song in the mornings I can walk to work with, I'm never going to be able to have a home there. You've priced me out of literally my ancestral homeland. I hate you with all my core.
Well, Sadiq Khan to that says, I have no hesitation in saying we need more migrants in London. He doesn't give a limit. Like, I mean, London is something like 8.5 million people at this point. It's grown 1 million a year for the last couple of years. It's been wild. Like, you can see that London is packed to the gills when you go there. And so, I mean, what does Sadiq plan to do? Some sort of mega city where he just starts building upwards?
They're already building that in Ealing and Lewisham. Lewisham, there is actually less... There are more tower blocks than there is sky space between the tower blocks.
Park the social benefits to our city from migration. Park the cultural benefits to our city from migration.
Because there aren't any.
Yeah, exactly, because, I mean, what would they be? I've spent the morning with some of our city's leading businesses who create jobs, wealth, and prosperity. They've got a skill shortage and a labour shortage.
Record migration.
Labour shortage.
Yes. Why? I happen to have noticed, this is something purely observational. When we went to cover the Queen's funeral, a lot of security there.
Oh, yeah.
The crowd, overwhelmingly ethnic English.
Yep.
The security providers, overwhelmingly not. And so when I keep hearing that we keep importing nurses from overseas, we have lots of people in private contracted security from ethnic minority backgrounds, I do wonder if importing incompatible cultures and people with differing lifestyles who have never paid into the point of access to public services is kind of manufacturing this endless consent of never having enough security or public services to meet demand. It's almost like by importing all the people, that's the reason for the shortage.
Quite possibly. But Sadiq Khan does say that, look, I want the power to control London's borders. Devolve to cities like London the powers to have regional shortage occupation list, so I can be in charge of deciding how many people come into London to help our economy.
So he wants to be King Sadiq of the satellite state.
And he wants there to be literally no limit to the number of migrants London will take. There are labour shortages, don't you know? He's been calling for rent controls in London for years now, though, right? I mean, like, literally every year.
Don't work.
So, yeah, exactly. A, they don't work, but B, why do you need rent controls? Where is the demand coming from, Sadiq? So I want to cram as many people in as possible, but I also want to have manual control of the rents in a way that will not work and will find itself simply bleeding out in other areas, right? I mean, he literally says London's private renters are facing a triple whammy with rising rents, bills, and the cost of household essentials putting major strain on their finances, which is why I've called for more immigrants. No, he says he wants the government to implement rent controls in London. It's mad. If only we knew why we needed this. So why are so many migrants coming across the channel? I mean, it's not just the migrants, but we'll get to that. Because the French are afraid of them. Now, you got people like Steve Laws, good lad, go follow him on Twitter, saying, look, you can see that these people, you can see the dock in the background, so they're not leaving from a remote location. So you can, on the back there, right, you can see they're just on the French beaches leaving, and so the French must be turning a blind eye. No, that's a way up. That's Steve, that's giving the French way too much credit, right? Turning a blind eye would imply that they aren't mortally afraid of the migrants. The French have already surrendered to the migrants, which is literally what the Sun reported yesterday. The French have apparently decided to refuse to intercept small boats because there's been a string of violent attacks on the police. And so the police are like, Zut law, waves of white flag, and have just given up.
Who, as well, who's selling them all the boats?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, we spent, what was it, 250 million telling the French, look, here's all this money, stop them coming. And the French are like, we can't, we have surrendered, mon chéri.
They are proactively letting them through.
Yes. The cops are happy to tear gas them and slash their boats on the beaches, try and stop them from leaving the shores, but as soon as the migrant boats get into the water, those inside become increasingly violent. Do they? And the police don't want to approach them for fear of getting hurt.
Guns.
Border Force sources say. Yeah, I mean, I thought there was a sort of form of projectile weaponry that we could have used in this circumstance. But of course, the French, decades behind us, centuries behind us.
Just a former bullseye contestant standing at Calais chucking darts at them for all I care. Just deflate the bloody things.
Nope, the French have surrendered. So France is now a migrant country as far as I'm concerned. But the thing is, there are no other things that can be done. Apparently, the Dutch signed a deal with Morocco saying, look, can we just send you these illegals back? And that didn't have any effect. Literally less than 10% of the Moroccan nationals that the Dutch immigration officials asked to provide emergency travel documents for were forcibly deported.
So sanction the countries that keep allowing their citizens to pour into these countries. Why are we trying to pay France rather than bleeding dry every single country that sends their... We had a deal with Albania. No, declare economic war on Albania for all I care if you're going to keep letting your people come over and invade.
Declare actual war?
Well, yeah, sure.
But anyway, right, so what's the problem? The problem is European Convention on Human Rights, which is the Council of Europe that is responsible for this, not the European Union. We are still members of the Council of Europe. If we can go to the next one. This is just from the University of Liverpool, if you go back, sorry, where they're just saying that basically, technically we could ignore it, because it's not like the Council of Europe has any enforcement mechanism for anything, but for some reason we don't. We've actually got a really great record of doing exactly as they say, even though we complain about these things. Yes. So we say, please can we not do that? And they say, no, you're going to have to do that. And we're just like, okay, well, I guess we're just going to have to do it.
We could leave at any time. Like we
could just ignore it.
We're also holding ourselves to a set of legal bindings which we don't have to be in. It's like the Conservatives complaining about the Equality Act, but still keeping it in place. Yeah,
they could leave this, they could leave that, they could do the other. They've got the massive majority. This could all have been done by lunchtime yesterday. But nope, and it's because the lefty human rights lawyers are like, well, here's a piece of paper that says you're still going to do it, and judging from your record, you're going to comply, and therefore we're just going to keep doing this, and you're going to keep paying. How much do you think it is?
So last I heard, it was about 7 million a day.
Well, the government tell us it's 6 million a day, but there are other costs that they're not adding to that.
Right.
If you go to the next one, this is
it's only 6 million.
Yeah, only £6 million a day, which is 3 billion a year and rising. Now, I bet this is way undercosted. There's going to be many more ancillary costs that stack up on top of this. But even this is just what the government tells you. 6 million a day. Do you have a day off yesterday? Sit around, put your feet up, watch some TV, maybe play some video games, had a beer maybe, and £6 million was shoved into the pockets of the hotels, the bureaucracy, and the migrants. You were sat there thinking you were having a nice day off, and they were taking £6 million off us collectively to give it to a bunch of wayfaring foreigners.
I want to see if the date that mass migration started via the small boats, and they were giving them this money, if JD Sports stock just keeps going up.
Probably, yeah. Anyway, so just to put a cap on this, that's the illegal immigration.
Yep.
There are, of course, massive amounts of legal migration. Honestly, I don't know why people illegally immigrate into the country.
I'm going to cover these statistics in depth on Monday because, thankfully, Jeremy of Migration Watch decided to give us the press embargo release of that. So thank you very much.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, what we have from the Times here is that Migration Watch did a study on just legal immigration because the Conservatives in the last 2 years have decided actually we need a net migration of over 500,000. So that's a total migration of 1.16 million and then 1.23 million, I think it was this year.
The previous year was 606,000 net increase.
Yeah, yeah. And in 2021, it was 506 or 505, something like that. And that was out of 1.16 million. And then this year it's been more. And next year it's going to be even more. And it's just going to keep going on. And so Migration Watch is like, well, look, we can add up numbers, actually. Numbers add up. And if this keeps adding up, we will have 16 million new people by 2046.
And that is despite the birth rate continually falling. And so they have said, we're going to need 18 new cities the size of Birmingham to meet housing demand.
They think it'll be between 83 and 87 million people in the UK.
And that's based on the undercounted population statistics, which Dan has already been through, where he says that there's at least a couple of million people here that we don't know about. Absolutely.
Which Tesco's has been telling us because they've been feeding them. And also people like the waste disposal people will say, well, look, we're serving many more than are on the books. But there we go. So yeah, you are being mugged. You are absolutely being mugged every single day of your life. Whenever you take a day off, millions of more pounds go out of the public purse at your expense.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content that's on the site, such as the premium videos we do, this one on why liberalism is a universal asset. If you'd like to find out what else is being put out, you can follow on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.